Holla. So once again, we thank everybody for tuning into Gallery right here on Caribbean Power Jam Radio. Number for the studio is 718-393-5385. Before we get to that portion of the show, we do have some guests in the building that we would like for them to introduce themselves to the listening audience tonight.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Honor and praise to the Most High God. My name is Maury Youth Don. I am one of the teachers and chief council members of Congregation Bay DCB in Brooklyn, New York.
Peace and blessings, all honors and praises to the great King of the universe. This is Akar Ben Dan, also one of the members of Congregation Bay DCB in Brooklyn, New York.
So once again, they're here once again. They were here, quite a few months ago. So, this is, as we mentioned earlier, this is Black History Month. So we're going to get into a couple of topics and discuss with them basically how, they feel about certain things. And they're going to, of course, let everybody know what they have to offer to the Black community as well. But before we get into all of that, just to clear, to break the ice and everything, before we get to the serious stuff, really. So what did y'all think about the Super Bowl?
You want to handle that one first?
What did I think about the Super Bowl? I believe that the Super Bowl was the same oppressive game that we talked about when we were first on your show talking about the NFL boycott. So we did not watch the Super Bowl for the same reason that we weren't watching any games in the football season, because we're boycotting the NFL because we don't feel like the NFL represents our values as a community of people.
And I'd like to chime in.
Go ahead.
I'm glad to hear that there are still stars that's boycotting the NFL along with us. In particular, Cardi B speaking out that she still is standing with Colin Kaepernick, that, our voices are being heard, and that the NFL will have to take a look this season and see what they're going to do concerning about people who stand for social injustice, silent protests, and that, seeing that this Super Bowl is currently being rated one of the lowest Super Bowls watched ever, and that people were still boycotting it, even though it wasn't organized as one collective effort, that people want their voices heard, and people don't appreciate what the NFL has done to even one of our people.
Just to also add, Brooklyn's own Jay-Z was also boycotting the Super Bowl and pushing for other artists to do the same.
So now, getting into the next season, basically, or how long do y'all think that y'all would be? I kind of know everybody has their different reasons for why they're boycotting, but for your organization, how long do you intend?
As we're going to keep this going, as long as it needs to be going. As long as they're doing things that show a level of overt racism and silencing our voices and keeping stars from their platform, then we'll continue to stand in solidarity with our brother until justice is served. And so the NFL, what we want to do is hopefully see them sit down this season and actually bring a righteous resolution to this whole situation and it be resolved.
So now, switching gears. So, with your congregation, Bay DCB, the Akak Mubina, and also your members of a congregation or organization, Am Sadiq.
Correct.
Just introduce to the audience also about both organizations. Not necessarily your roles in the organization, because you already stated that, but what are both organizations doing?
Okay, so I'll speak concerning Congregation Bay Da'akak Mu'uvina. We are a Hebrew Israelite organization based in Brooklyn, New York. Part of our mission is to enlighten people to a better way of life and indeed teach them of the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. Part of the things we do besides teaching people of who the Most High God is we find ourselves based in community values, doing different programs concerning tutorials, feeding the poor, clothing the homeless, those who are in need, and definitely different programs. We currently have an electrical tutorial that one of our brothers are doing to help people actually gain a skill for youth and, for adults, that if they decide to do it, they can actually be a part of, they can actually save some dollars by doing these things in their home. Nika Electric, my brother Amori Arania, he is on Instagram promoting his class, and that class is ongoing. And as far as the things for Sadiq, I'll let my brother Samal Zarkar address that at this time.
As far as Sadiq is a community and faith-based organization, and one of the goals that we're looking to do is we're looking to build better communities. So we're looking to go into the communities and look to empower a lot of the members of the communities. We're looking to bring necessary services into the communities just to have a lot of the community members start to consider the things that they can do in order to better their lives. One of the things that we are going to be looking to do is we're going to be looking to do a health fair that we're going to be doing in Red Hook houses, which is the community in which we're currently located. And the main goal of that health and wellness fair is that we're going to look to get out the seniors. We're going to look to get out the young people. We're going to look to get out everyone, and we want to give them a health assessment to let them know their current level of health. And what we're also going to do is we're going to have different experts there to deal with the holistic approach to wellness and healing. We're going to have a nutritionist there to promote diet and how they can do better with themselves, that we don't look to do these crash diets, but more natural means in order to make ourselves stronger and healthier. And those are some of the things that we're looking to do as Sadiq. We're also looking to partner with faith and community-based organizations throughout the city and throughout the country so that we can start to build programs for strengthening our communities all over the country, because as we're all aware, our communities are currently some of the most downtrodden communities, and I believe that a part of that is because with the 400 years of oppression that we've gone through, and we're still trying to climb ourselves out of a lot of the mental oppression that is still going on. And part of pulling ourselves out of that mental oppression is by understanding that we are a people, to try to help pull each other out, to help support each other, and let them know that the things that you want in life, there's a path to get it, and we're going to offer different means in order to make those dreams a reality for a lot of our community residents.
So you mentioned that Sadiq is a faith-based organization. What faith in particular is Sadiq? And I know you mentioned you want to work with various faith-based organizations, but in particular, is there any particular faith that Sadiq has?
Sadiq, we are the founding members of Sadiq are from the house of Israel. Those are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and also being related to those who came over in the transatlantic slave trade. So, and I presume that's where we're going next to discuss our faith-based organization and how the media has chosen to take community values that are geared towards uplifting our people and looking to turn it into something in comparison to supremacists and hate groups, which is not representative of us.
Yeah, because you mentioned that between the two organizations, health fair, finance, or economics, just training people with the various skills, and there's a lot of good that you mentioned that the organizations are putting forth. Now, with what's happening recently in the media and or how the media is stereotyping Israelites, do you feel that that's a hindrance to your goals in terms of promoting the health and the economic side of your organization?
I would have to say definitely. A lot of times, we have to sit down and take a look at how we've been viewed since our arrival here in this country. Slavery is a dark part of our history. But when we look at how we've been viewed, we've always been viewed as less. So as we come now into the 21st century and we deal with how we're viewed today and the different faiths that we have, a lot of times when people don't understand what we have, it's, oh, what are they doing or why are they doing what they're doing? I think as Israelites, a lot of times in the media, we're viewed in a certain way, which hinder us from moving forward, because obviously if somebody doesn't like you, when you're sitting down and you're trying to say, I have services available for you, you sit down and you immediately say, is this something that I want to take from somebody who I feel I don't like or who is against what I'm doing? In particular, if you sit down and you look at how the Israelites are viewed in the street, unfortunately, we're always viewed as either a militant group that's against the country, a separatist group, or a black supremacist group. And so when we're going and we're trying to get grant money or we're trying to build relations with the community, the first thing that I often run into is, are you part of the Hebrew Israelites? Are you part of those black Hebrews? Or unfortunately, which is becoming a negative stereotype, are you part of those people who preach on the corner? Now, unfortunately, if you stop and you look and you say, why has, when somebody is spreading their message on the corner, become a negative thing, you have to stop and ask yourself the question, why? And I think part of that is because the media has taken the parts that they don't like of how people outreach, or have taken chosen individuals who have said ignorant things and lumped us all together into one group, and have stopped and said, these are those people that you're looking at. And so now people stop and they go, oh, well, listen, if you're part of that group that doesn't like women, or you're part of that group that hates all white people, then why should I help you, or why should I want any of your help?
So with that, what steps are you taking in order to, I guess, separate yourself from the negative, aspect that the media is putting forth in order for you to continue with the mission or the missions that you have in store?
Well, one of the first steps that we took is we're looking at the reports now, the various news media and periodicals that were put out there. What was actually a bit disheartening was one of the periodicals, one of the articles that was written by someone very familiar with us in the Israelite community. And the first thing that we did was had dialogue with that individual to inquire as to why he chose to not make that separation. What we did this past Sunday is we sat down with Israelite community leaders from around the country. We had individuals who have organizations in Chicago, in Queens, and we sat down and we put forth a video that you can find on the DCB website. And in that video, we went through the clarification to explain exactly what an Israelite is, the difference between a Hebrew Israelite and an Israelite, and the difference in the teaching that we teach. So the purpose of that was to, as our initial step to the news media, to let them know that we're very dissatisfied with the manner in which you portrayed us, and we're offering you an opportunity to start to recant these stories or to amend these stories to remove the derogatory and inflammatory labels that you put upon us: hate group, black supremacists, so on and so forth. What we have also done is we've prepared a statement for our website, for base DCB website, and also for Amzadik website. And some of the individuals who sat down with us on Sunday at that forum, they've also put statements on their website to clarify and let people know, firstly, who we are, what we stand for, to separate the understanding that we do not preach hate at any point. And if the news media does not begin to recant these stories, then it's our full intention to seek out legal action and injunctions or whatever it is that we need to do in order to get the news stories to make a clear separation amongst the handful of individuals that were at the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and us. And if that's not done, then we'll start to seek our options and our alternatives for legal action.
So now you're just looking for a separation just based on the incident that took place at the Lincoln Memorial, or are you just looking for a general? Because you mentioned that there are differences between Israelites. So are you just looking for a separation for an incident that just took place, or just a blanket separation because there are other incidents that have been happening, for decades?
Right.
That, like you said, Israelites have a bad name based on certain groups.
So now, depending on who you ask the question to, you're going to get a different response. Mm-hmm. The separation that we're looking for is we're looking to be afforded the same courtesies that other community groups, other groups are afforded. When they do a story about the Catholic priest, they are sure to indicate certain Catholic priests from this place. They don't lump all Catholic priests together to give the impression that all Catholic priests are pedophiles and child molesters. Exactly. Even within the stories of the Lincoln Memorial, they made a clear distinction with the Covington High School Catholic school students versus making a blanket statement to say these Catholic high school students show this disrespect to the indigenous people. So they were clear to make those separations. And one of the first questions that we asked is, if you were so clear to make the separations when you were dealing with those groups, why then were we not offered the same courtesy to make the separation between these sects of Israelites and what we do?
And now, besides, because you focus on the media a lot in terms of making a separation, but if, like, say, you have a household, you have a family, and you have a bad child that's given a bad name to the entire household, and say the entire neighborhood is just focusing on the bad child, do you blame the neighborhood or do you blame the child?
Well, here's what the deal is. American media has already set that standard. He just gave the example of the Catholic priests. The Catholic priests don't speak for all of Christianity. The Catholic priests are isolated for what they do concerning pedophilia and things of that nature, and they're trying to handle it the way that they're handling it. What we're stopping and saying is that our reputation already speaks for ourselves. We have already been holding ourselves as upstanding citizens in our communities for centuries. We have already been acting within this government in an upstanding way for centuries. So when you depict us in the media, depict us in a positive light and not in a negative light. And if you're going to say that something is wrong, address those people who are wrong and don't address the collective. We want the same courtesies that's afforded to any other group afforded to us. And so that as we operate, we're going to hold people responsible for the actions that they do. If you're part of the media and you have had actually intimate conversations with us and you know what we do, and you can sit down and talk to a person like myself and say, I really like your congregation, I like what y'all are doing, and I see the difference between y'all and other groups, and then you can write a story and group us all in together, then yeah, you'll be called out, and any of the news groups that you're associated with that condone that type of behavior, we're gonna call you out too. We're here to set the record straight. And part of setting the record straight is one bad apple shouldn't ruin a bunch. And we're not saying that there's a whole bunch of bad apples out there, but we do recognize as an organization that there is some hate talk amongst our people that do that. And when we say our people, saying that people who profess themselves to be Israelites but don't necessarily follow the way that we live, and definitely haven't sat under the teachings that we put out in the streets and the world at large, and then all of a sudden you want to blame us for what one or two people are doing. So we're saying that where judgment is needed, where a certain level of discernment is needed, apply it where it needs to be applied, but give us the credit where we need to be credited with, because we are upstanding individuals within our communities.
So once again, everybody out there, we're talking to members of two members that are part of two organizations, Congregation DCB, and I'm Sadiq. So the number for the studio is 718-393-5385. If you want to call up and, if you have any questions on, because, with the media putting the stereotype or the bad stereotype about Israelites, we have an audience that's very diverse and they may have questions in terms of that diversity out there. So, anybody has the opportunity to call in 718-393-5385. But overall, Israelites haven't had just negative stereotype. So we're just going to play like one or two songs and give a positive light on the Israelites. So once again, and now keeping it locked to the gallery right here on Career Power Jam Radio. Number for the studio was 718-393-5385. So if anybody has any questions out there, feel free to call us up at this time. Anybody, whatever the question is, don't be shy, don't be afraid to ask the question. So now dealing with, going back to briefly your community outreach and things that you do, I do believe you have like a bowling event coming up soon.
Yes, this coming March 3rd, 2019, out at Bowl 360. We are having a family fun day bowling from 1 to 4 p.m. Everybody's invited, even the kids. They have the miniature thing that the kids can bowl and push the ball down, bowling down on. $20 per person, includes 2 hours unlimited bowling. The time is from 1 to 4, but we were actually bowling from 2 to 4. The pre-registration is between 1 and 2. So $20 for the event, that includes your bowling shoes and 2 hours of unlimited bowling. So however much bowling you can get in at that time, we will be at Bowl 360. So that's one of the events that we're currently doing for the community.
So everybody out there, don't be afraid if you're in the New York City area to come and bowl with Sadiq. So don't let the negative stereotypes that the media's putting about Israelites stop you. But based on the audience that we also have here, and like you said, that's just 2 songs that were played are just minimal of, basically Israelites are actually painted with a positive light throughout all the reggae music, throughout all the dancehall music. So do you feel that that negative stereotype that's been put out there is just something that's basically local? When I say local, whether it's New York or broadly throughout the U.S.
Well, just to indicate, I believe that the negative stereotype is not local. The negative stereotype is actually national. The interesting part about this scenario is because a lot of the Israelites who preach on some of the prominent places in the city, we're all familiar with them. News media is familiar with them. But for when you have some of those local markets, like down in North Carolina or over in the Midwest, and that was actually, they were the ones who brought that to our attention, that this was a major concern for them because that's something that they're not familiar with. So now, in areas that are not as diverse as us, in areas where you still have huge amounts of racial tension, for them being stereotypes is difficult enough to be different. But to now have your group to be stereotyped as a hate group, for them that creates a major concern. That creates a concern for them with their jobs. That creates a concern with them with the variety of things that they're looking to do. And when they indicate their affiliation and they're called Israelites, and now you had the major news media in the country, in the city, to indicate that this is a hate group, now that creates a huge amount of concern for them. So while in the local market we may still be painted in a positive light or in an indifferent light, in some of those smaller markets, some of those smaller cities, it's a major concern for a lot of them.
So now overall, I believe right now, or maybe finished by now, the president is giving the State of the Union address. What is the state of the Israelite nation? Or do you have an address just to put out for everybody else that's listening?
So the answer to the question is yes. The state of the Israelites now are, we're still a people who need to be community minded. And that's what part of Beit DCB and Sadiq do. We need to be community minded in the sense of we really have to start to understand the power that we have amongst one another, our earning power, the part that we have to educate one another, and the power we have to actually operate independently in times where we don't necessarily need to rely on other people to do what we need to do. We actually have the skills that we have within this nation to do anything that we want to do. We just have to begin to believe in one another and trust in one another. Okay, well, part of that is if we're constantly being depicted in the media in a negative light, that prevents us from trusting one another and trusting each other's motives on what we're trying to get done and how we're trying to get it done. So part of that is not repairing our image, but preserving our image in a positive light, so that when people want to try to make us look bad as a whole, that we're making sure that we keep ourselves looking good and make sure that people see us as trustworthy, so that when it's time for us to do things that are community minded and helps us to build a positive, quote unquote, black nation, that people wouldn't be hesitant in the things that we put forth our hands to do.
We do have a call on the line, so let's with a question. Good night, caller.
Yes, good night.
Hey, welcome to the gallery.
Thank you.
So you have a question to ask the brothers here?
Yes, I do, actually. My question is, how will the Hebrew Israelite community plan to outreach in the communities where they are located to educate about who they are?
Okay, so, and I thank you for your questioning, and peace and blessings to you, sister. The way that we do that, so occasionally we have different speaking engagements and different black expos that we have done in the past to actually let people know who we are and what we're doing. My congregation, Beit Da'a Kakma Uvina, we're actually having a public event in May of 2019, May 25th in particular, on that Sabbath. On that Sabbath, we will invite the entire community out in Brooklyn, New York at Restoration Plaza, located in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section. People are welcome to join. We will have literature that we will hand out. The speakers will be addressing some part of what we do, and we will have a welcoming committee on hand to let people know about who we are and the way we do things. We also have our website available, beitdcb.org, beitdcb.org. You can go on that website also and find out the different things that we're about, and then they will educate you to the different things that we do, the theology that we have concerning our monotheistic approach to the Most High God. And if at any time you have any further questions, I take you to our chief man, Chief Uziel. You can reach him at 347-622-9090, and he can give you more information if you're desiring such.
And cool, I forgot to ask your name and your location. Oh, guess you got a answer.
All right.
So anybody else, just real quick, 718-393-5385. Just feel free to call us up, and if you have any questions. So they mentioned how you could get in touch with them already, and we'll of course be posting the websites, the information for them to put out there. So once again, just anybody else wants to call in, real quick, 718-393-5385, and feel free to ask a question. So a lot of people in the chat room are definitely liking what's going on right now. So definitely appreciate everybody for tuning into the gallery tonight, and also appreciating Maury Yiftach and Samal Zakar for coming in and sharing with us on this night, especially last time they brought forth information about the NFL boycott, and now I guess because of an unfortunate situation, they felt compelled to come back just to clear the air and clear names, basically. So hopefully with everybody that was listening, I know this was very brief, but hopefully for everybody that was listening, you were able to get something out of what they were saying. And of course, once again, they laid out their websites, and of course we will repost them on the gallery, and you'll be able to get the information that way. So before, good evening, welcome to the gallery.
Shalom.
Shalom.
And I'm calling in because we're getting negative reports when we all, I know there's several of us that do good things. I know what DCB does. I know what Vineyard Dot does. The thing is, we've had people come that have worshiped with us, have donated money and only had good reports. We feed the homeless, and so do you. The school, we give away for school supplies. We do a whole bunch of positive things without city, state, or federal funding. We have the power to do on our own. But when we deal them together as radicals, that's not who we are. We can worship with anyone and our doors are open, same as with you all. We don't down people. We're not like that. All we do is try to bring them the word of God. If you love Torah, we love you. So I'm saying sometimes we have to learn to ignore the negative, because the negative is what keeps us down. The negative is because they're hating that we're going to prosper. So you have to cut it out. We have to cut it out. Let them say what they want, and we keep doing the positive thing. And may the Most High continue to bless us and you all with your efforts, because I'm at home whenever I'm there.
Thank you.
And we thank,
Okay, shalom, Toda.
and we thank you for calling.
Sister.
Can I ask a question?
Before you ask your question, I just want to drop this quick thing in, and I'll let you get in right here. And that's part of that thing. We've been helping with Chief Benjamin. We've been sending supplies down to our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. We've also had the bus trip to the Smithsonian in D.C., where the African American Museum, where we're doing things to let people know about their culture and the different things that they're doing. Listen, the media is always invited, and we're always willing to let people know about what we're doing as we're in the community. The only thing we're asking the public to do is that when they see us, give us the fair shot, and don't let the media vilify us because of them sensationalizing stories and looking for something to talk about. But other than that, we have been doing things. But my brother, I apologize.
No, it's cool. What do you say about the people who feel that in doing forums like this and showing a difference between groups that is showing separation, and we shouldn't do that in the sight of what they would say, quote unquote, the enemy? How do you feel about that?
Well, the interesting thing about people is people are people.
Right.
And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique. And when we respect each other's opinion, that's what makes us different. That's what makes us unique. But as far as you have to make a separation to a degree, one of the main things that we do recognize and understand is we understand that the media is divisive. What the media does is the media wants to sell papers or whatever it is, they want to sell a story. So we, at a certain point, we want to come and we want to clarify our stance, and that was the major thing that we were looking to do here. That we're not a hate group, we're not supremacists, we believe in equality for all. In the book of Isaiah, it said that there's going to be a house of prayer for all people. So God does not tolerate separatism to that degree. The unfortunate part is we also, as required by Torah, have to separate and condemn the wicked or the unacceptable acts of that thing that happened. So in this particular case, we're just gonna, in not allowing the media to divide us, but we still have to make it clear that we as individuals are not a hate group. We look to empower our community, but we also aren't going to support people who preach hate. We're not going to support people who try to divide us. And I think that that's one of the major differences. And I understand that there's going to be people who have their different opinions on how these things should be addressed. But what we did was we were clear to clarify our stance, and God is just. So those who defame God's name, we're not going to support that, and God will take that up as He chooses.
So we thank you once again for coming in, and we thank everybody out there for listening in. and this is a conversation, a lot of people out there want to continue to hear. So in the future, we'll make sure that we extend the room so you can come in and finish your story. So we thank everybody for tuning into the gallery tonight, and just make sure that you follow the gallery on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Mixcloud, or YouTube. That's the gallery spelled DAGALLERY. So once again, thanking everybody. And of course, as we end off every show, the Empress Bradshaw, she sends us a quote to end off with, and she sends us this one: no matter how well you think you carry yourself, if you do not value yourself, it will show, and you will be treated by what people perceive as you. Know who you are and be confident in it, know your worth and act on it. And until next time, saying God bless.